Hey, I wouldn't really laugh about that. You shouldn't laugh about
Is the producer okay?
somebody else's injury.
We're ready to go?
Yeah. You okay? This is awesome having Mike here.
I know.
Back on track. You ready? Are we ready for a countdown? John?
Yep.
Michael, you ready?
Ready.
I like it. Producer? Director?
Ready.
Boom? Is that what they call the lighting guy? The boom guy? Over there? The guy holding that microphone up? Who knows what he's doing?
Phone's ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back, friends. Welcome back to another episode of The Jersey Alchemist. I'm your host, Dr. John Gerard Gallucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo.
And I'm Michael Sabella.
Wow, it's like the Italian connection here.
Oh,
I mean, what? If you're not Italian, you're not allowed on the podcast? I mean.
Oh, Bones is.
Oh, and Bones.
Bones
Bones is,
Bones is Major Springfield Bones. So I don't,
What's
Bones
his
is,
ethnicity? Not that it matters.
I
but
think he's early American.
early American.
Yep.
Okay, that would be a nice.
Somebody said something about Springfield, Massachusetts, and his people founded that town.
Really?
Yeah.
We're starting to find out piece by piece. We're starting to put a little bit more about Bones
About
together.
Bones. Yeah, and we'll find out one day how it is that he's got two eyes that are both different colors.
Yeah. Mike, what was your first impression of Bones when you walked in and saw him? Because he has a kind of startling effect on people. Yeah, most people. Yeah,
That's a good
that's the
question.
normal. That's the normal response we
Yeah,
get from
right,
people.
yeah.
I mean, me and John, we went to, we're looking to go to different sites and film, different parts of New Jersey. So we can't. It's not just me and him. So we brought Bones with us. So we sat him down in a chair, and some people they were eyeballing him, looking a little strange, and they gave the same response you
Right.
just did. But I mean,
Guess what he did? He eyeballed him back.
right back. You cannot intimidate that man. You can't do it. I think he's been through so much. Especially, John, we were talking about his injury.
You mean the one he sustained here on set?
Thank God you were here
Oh,
to
no,
fix
you
it.
know what I just realized?
What?
Now we're going to get a notice from HR that this is a work-related injury.
Yeah.
All
that'd
right,
be a
well, if
problem.
we come in one day and he's not here, we'll know why.
Let our attorneys handle it, please.
Right. Okay.
Mike, being a personal trainer, how do you cope with injuries? I mean, from not only your clients but yourself.
Don't get them.
Don't get them. Well, hey.
But in your
But-
line of work,
Yeah.
you must have been injured
Oh,
working
a
through
lot.
the years.
A lot.
Well, you're a
So-
construction guy, right?
Yeah. So,
That's a physical job.
well, that's why, it's like I've always said, if to do my job, I need to work out. So if I'm not working out,
Oh, that's for sure.
where I'm in a stable environment,
Sure.
okay? You're in the gym, you got full control. The floors aren't uneven, everything is right, you're on a machine, you're maybe
Yeah.
whatever, using free weights, you're in control. If you're gonna work out like a jackass,
Mhm.
you're gonna get hurt, right?
Absolutely.
But in my industry, we're carrying a beam and we're trying to put it up in place, going up on a ladder,
Wow.
and you got to twist yourself and shove it in at the same time. Meanwhile,
Wow.
you got 3 people carrying this beam, putting it up, and all you need is one person not to move the way that they're supposed to move, and now they're racking you. So
Right.
yeah, you can
Right.
easily.
Wow.
So that's why I always said, if I can't work out, I can't do the work I do. So yeah, I've had injuries.
Your job, it seems like a recipe for back injury, number one, or not so much.
I think it just depends on the people and what you're doing.
What was your worst injury? Care to say?
Spill it.
Doesn't have to be work-related.
No, I'm just thinking.
I've
most of them-
had 3 herniated discs, and that was painful.
Wow.
I think getting hit by that van with my lower back.
You got
on
hit
the
by a
right-
van?
I mean, in a car accident. I did get hit by a van. That was early on, and many moons ago in Staten Island, helping a lady.
Yeah, but not a lot of
But-
people would have survived that.
No, but I was in excellent shape. So that's what.
You were outside the car, Mike, or inside?
I went to go check on the lady, and we all walked over, and then. it
What
was
lady?
about-
Did she have an accident?
Yeah, she slid off the road on the expressway, and
Uh-huh.
and as I
Did you sue her? No,
She didn't. No.
I'm teasing.
She didn't hit you.
No, she was already off the road, so I pulled over to go and help her
Right.
with my cousin and my friend.
Right.
And moments later, another guy that we didn't know pulled over.
Right.
So as I went and talked to her, I said, "Are you okay? Is anybody in the car with you? Can we get anything? You want to go sit in the car and stay warm?" And she was okay. And then the guy that we didn't know, he was older than us, and he talked to her as well. And then we walked in 2x2 formation. So I was in the front two, but
Okay.
closer to the roadway. And the guy was on the inner part, opposite corner of me, right?
Okay.
And he grabbed my cousin and my friend out of the way, and one of them slapped my back. And when he did that, I looked and I saw the headlights, and I thought that it was a car, and I would just jump over it. But it was a van. So as I jumped, it creamed me and sent me. Remember the Greatest American Hero, the guy with the orange cape that couldn't land?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my
Yes.
one friend, he's like, "Pal, I'm sorry that I'm laughing," but he says, "All I can think about is the way you were going down the highway."
So this
that
guy
this-
sent you hurling through the air.
Oh yeah, I just like a rag doll tumbling. And
So you were the good Samaritan that got
Oh,
hit
yeah, I
by
got a good
another
kick.
vehicle.
No
Okay.
good deed
Yeah,
goes
but
unpunished.
listen, I'm a true believer that everything happens for reasons.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
stated that here. Yes.
Okay, so, at that time in my life, all I can think about is, well, a couple of things. Girls, right?
Yeah.
And working out,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
But working out was my number one
You don't think
thing.
YouTube will take us down for what he just said?
I
do you?
don't think so. I hope not. God help
Pretty
us.
graphic.
Yeah.
Girls are working
But
out.
all working out, and that's all I did was just, when I'm at work, I'm thinking about working out.
Yeah.
When I'm not at work, I'm thinking about working out.
Sure.
When and that was it. I wanted to be the miniaturized natural bodybuilder compared to these steroid jackasses.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
because in Staten Island, there were
Well, they're everywhere. Jersey
was a
too.
lot,
Jersey
okay?
too.
Can I tell you something? In my opinion, Mike, you brought up a good point. Bodybuilding is probably unnatural bodybuilding. It's probably the unhealthiest sport that you can
What
find.
about all the YouTube coverage now?
How many
On all the
bodybuilders are dying?
that are dead.
Yeah.
They're all dying.
Yeah.
What are they putting in their bodies?
Well, I think
All
it's a
sorts of shit, right?
combination of, the thing is.
I thought
is-
steroids were illegal. CDS, controlled dangerous substance.
Yeah, well, think
Well,
about
remember
all the
when,
natural.
Stallone got caught in Europe going through the airport with
Yeah.
a gym bag and he had steroids and
Well,
they arrested him. He says, "Well, I'm an actor, and." but
well,
I
even
guess,
professional sports people.
Sports.
Everybody has to outdo the next guy. We had a guy on Staten Island
Mm-hmm.
that he was racing pigeons. Okay,
Yeah.
He's not
And-
fast and he can race a pigeon.
he would race pigeons against other people with pigeons.
Sure.
Right?
Oh,
Okay.
I thought he was racing pigeons.
Go out
Okay.
there with the stick.
So one guy, his pigeons were beating everybody else's pigeons.
Don't
And
tell
he
me.
found out that they were putting steroids somehow in the water of these pigeons, and they were going faster.
Injecting them. That's amazing.
Not injected.
You know
no.
who's
They
got
were in the
2,000,
however.
3,000, 20,000 pigeons? Mike Tyson.
Tyson's a big pigeon.
Well, he
guy.
might be
Yeah.
racing them.
Yeah,
maybe.
He's
Tell
a
him
big-
he
But I
can.
guess he wouldn't give them steroids.
Oh,
No.
maybe not.
Wow.
No, you have
that's
to ask Mike that.
Right.
that's unbelievable.
I'm
Sports-
Mike.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Sport, performance enhancing drugs in sports is out of control. I mean,
Absolutely.
Alex Rodriguez. Let's go to baseball. I mean, baseball, they talked about the hitters. The pitchers were on them too.
You know,
You know?
but you know what I think?
Roger Clemens picked up 10 miles an hour on his fastball once he hit 40.
That's, well, who was
And I'm a
who
Clemens
was the
fan.
guy that, Sammy Sosa, the guy who,
Mark McGuire,
and then there was the other guy that played for
Barry
the Jets.
Bonds.
Yes. When he first started, he was skinny as a rail. At the end of his career, he looked like
Yeah.
he
Do
looked
you-
like Ronnie Coleman.
Now, Mike, maybe you can. Is this true or not? And John too, on the medical side, they said that Barry Bonds grew an inch because he was taking so much growth hormone. Is that true? They said he
You
grew
know,
an inch.
I don't know. I think the way I understood this, and this is not my field of expertise, here's my disclaimer. If you give a child growth hormone or steroids, their growth plates and their long bones close earlier. But I have heard of people giving growth hormone to kids that are
Yes.
abnormally small,
Yeah.
and maybe their father's 5'3" and the mother's 4'9", and they come up with a medical reason for it, and apparently that works. So maybe the difference is testosterone derivatives versus growth hormone. Maybe if you get the kids on growth hormone, maybe it stops their growth plates from closing earlier. Because once the growth plates close, then you're kind of getting big sideways. Your bones are getting heavy, and you kind of get acromegaly like Andre the Giant. Your skull gets thick.
I know basketball players are taking them.
Well, the great
years.
hypocrisy is that I actually feel bad for them. The Major League Baseball players, okay, they're making tons of money and they're celebs, but God forbid they get caught with doing the cream of the clear, the steroids, and the world wants to hang them. Every single NFL football player is taking steroids, and if they're not, they just can't compete. Even the kickers are taking steroids.
But they're big now. I don't understand it. If you're born with size, God gave you 6'4", 6'6", and you're naturally a big boned person. Yeah. I mean, do you really have to take that many steroids?
Here's a good perspective. A long time ago, when we were in high school, my dad took me and my brother to see the New York Giants play. I don't know who the hell they played. I don't know, maybe it was the Eagles or something, but it was the era where Larry Zonka was the fullback for the Giants. Right? For you
guys. Gonna tell me he was on steroids? I don't think so.
No, here's the point.
Son.
Here's the point. I was always that guy, whether we went to see the Rangers play or the Giants, I always had to have the program. I always, had to pay that $5 for the program. I wanted to look up the stats, see how tall, see how many pounds they weighed, where they were from. And what stunned me was that the NFL linemen, always looked way bigger than the rest of the players on the field. Guess what? Front line, New York Giants, 6'4", 240, 250, 230. Larry Zonka, 6'4", 235 pounds. But he had small shoulder pads so that he could hit and hit a hole and squeak through it.
Yeah.
But an NFL lineman, 6'4", 245 pounds? These guys are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 310 pounds today.
And they run the 40 in 4.4 seconds or something crazy.
Right. Now, I'll tell a story. I think you guys both heard me say it, but this is for the viewers. A long time ago, there was a weightlifting gym in Belleville, New Jersey on Washington Avenue. And the owners were friends. The older owner made the 1980 Olympic weightlifting team, and it was disastrous for him and everybody on that team because it was the year we boycotted the Olympics because it was in Moscow. And it was that whole thing about the Soviets being in Afghanistan. Politics got in the way. But the New York Jets and the New York Giants, not all of them, but a handful of them would work out there in the off season. And there was a guy who was a lineman for the Giants. The rest of the guys from the Jets we knew because they were actually from like Belleville and they went to Essex Catholic. But this guy, whose first name was Tom, was our bench pressing partner. The guy just looked like Bluto from Popeye, right? Jet black hair. His stubble was as black as your shirt. And he says, hey guys, he goes, you got to forgive me. I'm not really pushing up the weight like I normally would. It's the off season. And he said, my body weight right now is 245. He was 6'4", 245, but his bone structure could handle a whole lot more. He goes, guess what my playing weight is? I don't know. We knew where he was going. 280. 280. How do you gain 40 pounds from the off season to the on season? How do you do that? By eating pizza in a pizza parlor?
Definitely not.
There's no way. So, and we all had our friends back in the day that were just jamming themselves with steroids. But anyway,
Mike, how come you never went that route? Being so into athletics and sports and bodybuilding and being on
Because
stage.
I think a lot of it was that because of where I got myself to, I didn't want people to say that, oh, you got there because you did steroids. So, and then there was one guy that I always worked out, like, always had my own equipment.
Okay.
So there was one guy in the gym, and he said, read this book, Death in the Locker Room. And it was all, like the first chapter, you and I could understand. You probably would understand the whole book being a doctor, but the first chapter was enough to read. You didn't really have to read because there were so many complications and everything else. So even like today, like when I was training the kids for anything, for any sport or anybody just wanted to work out, I would try to give an example. So right now it's a level playing field, right? So the guy decides to take steroids. So he jumps up and you're here. You're at the lower part. He can only take the steroids for so much time and then he has to come off. So meanwhile, the guy that's natural keeps plugging, right? This guy comes back down because he can't stay on it. So he's not going to lift as much. He's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Mentally, now he's getting screwed up. So what does he do? He doesn't, so he's got two options, the guy that's on steroids. Mentally, he took the dark route, right? And the easy road.
Yeah.
So he says to himself, well, why do I got to work out? It's winter time. I'll just take a cycle and look good for summertime or whatever. So that's his mentality, that he wants to look good for a certain time and he's going to go on his cycle. Meanwhile, the natural guy is continuously working out.
Training.
So now that steroid guy is down here because he doesn't want to work out without the steroids. Now he's got two options. Do I speed up my cycles that I'm not going to be off as long? And now he's going to have health problems.
He doesn't want to work out without the steroids.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you just nailed one of the core pieces of psychology behind people who do that.
It does affect your psychology, your mental, your balance.
There's too many health risks, and it's not worth it. The natural guy will always beat the steroid guy, period. You look at most steroid guys that did steroids, okay, years ago, they're fat. They're fat today.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
they're
but
fat.
How about performance? I mean, sports-wise.
Well, they're performance-enhancing drugs,
yeah,
right?
there's no comparison. You are definitely getting like a boost and a half from them compared to the natural guy. But again, you can't keep them going to keep your performance up. Listen, who knows what happens? You lose your hair, maybe you can't. Your partner goes dead down below. Your bones grow out, right, from joints.
Oh, sure.
Okay, you have kidney problems. You have, I mean, there's a list and a half of things. Or you die. You can have a table of 10 of us. That do them, and maybe 2 guys are perfect. 2 guys die. This guy can't, have his performance anymore with his girlfriend or wife, and someone else loses all their hair. Another guy has bone problems and kidney problems, and there's no like dotted line to.
Would you say when you take steroids, you're altering your DNA?
I don't think so.
Is that not it?
I don't think that's
my
true.
point being, can you, by changing your infrastructure of your body, your chemistry, because you are changing your chemistry to an extent, okay?
Sure.
Can that affect you if you have children?
Yeah, sure.
Can that affect your kids?
That I don't know.
Because I do know some people in the past, being in gyms for a long time, and they were, drug takers, and unfortunately, some kids were born with some issues.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And maybe it's a coincidence. I mean, you don't know that. But, I mean, why take that chance? I mean, that alone.
It's not, if you're going to use an enhancing performance drug, whether it's growth hormone,
Sure.
steroids, or anything, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, and even to take it a simpler step down,
Yeah.
okay, you're a 19-year-old kid, and you're working out. Your testosterone is through the roof, right?
Right.
If you start putting it in from a foreign
Yeah,
substance,
exogenously,
your
right.
body's going to stop
Stop.
producing it.
True.
Yeah.
So now you just affected your natural testosterone levels because it says, hey, why should I produce this when he's giving it to me from the outside source? And we're not talking about steroids. We're just talking about like a testosterone boost.
That's a great point. What do you guys feel about TRT, testosterone replacement theory? Therapy.
Treatment?
Yeah. I mean, there's guys in the gym that are walking around 50s and 60s, and you're looking like, wow, that guy didn't look like that a year ago. And you find out that there's all these wellness centers and a doctor. You automatically, as you get older, your testosterone is going to be lower. And they're giving
muscular and they're
testosterone.
trim?
Yeah, and they're in great shape. I mean, but these doctors.
Maybe I got to do that.
These doctors are giving this stuff out like it's candy. I could name 10 people that are 50s and 60s or on testosterone therapy, right? And they don't work out. They're just taking it.
They still look good, and they don't.
Well, they look okay, but they're telling me that they can do, run a mile, do somersaults down the road. I mean,
well, I'll tell you what. I have a friend of mine, a former associate, who was a great surgeon, and then while he was still a surgeon, he could have opened up one of those wellness centers. And now that I believe he's retired from surgery, he's a few years older than me. People used to make fun of him kind of in the locker room because the guy went from a normal-looking middle-aged guy to looking like one of those ads, where you get the guy, with the gray hair. The guys with the gray hair.
Yeah.
That if you took just a headshot of them, they should be in the park with their grandkids.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hey, Grandpa.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Meanwhile, boom, stick their head onto a bodybuilder. Now, he wasn't real big and bulky, but the guy's body fat percent, I think it was 3.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
So hats off to him but who's to say that that's bad?
I don't know. Is it bad? I mean, Mike, have you heard anything about this?
Listen, to be honest, we talked about dieting on a previous episode. I would so love to do something like that and all of a sudden start changing my chemistry to drop my body weight, my fat. I shouldn't be 230.
I just, again, I'd like to keep things simple. If you're going to go outside and you're going to start putting substances in your body, regardless of how they are, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen to you. So, again, keep things simple. Let your body is a machine. And if you can mentally get yourself challenged to meet the goals that you want to meet, you will get there.
What about these athletes that, especially the baseball players, they say they take steroids to repair an injury? Is that true?
I'm sure it is, but that's a convenient way of.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You know who really got that whole Lance Armstrong thing was amazing because
that was blood doping.
But he got caught blood doping, correct?
And steroids too, though.
And steroids
too.
But didn't he have testicular cancer?
Yes.
And I don't know the rest of this. I don't know if anybody in the world knows, if he ever actually discussed all of it. But, maybe he had. Look, if the guy had bilateral orchiectomies, both testicles being removed, you got to be on steroid replacement therapy.
Yeah.
Or at least, I'm not an endocrinologist, but I would imagine so. He still has his adrenal glands, but both testicles, and he was a young guy. Then the question is, if that's true, does that preclude him from competitive athletics?
The funny part about that, they said in that Tour de France, they'd probably have to go to number 12 to find somebody who wasn't on steroids.
Who's not, right? So he was probably the best anyway, because everybody that was anywhere near his heels, so to speak,
sure,
you can turn the screw if it's bothering you. It tightens it up.
tighten
And-
and loosen them.
Yeah, so anyway, but I just, that whole thing was, what a disaster.
What about these young kids? Where are these young athletes getting steroids? Because I know,
That's a good question, because back in the 70s, and I know we all remember this, here comes the guy with the gym bag, but it was really kind of a doctor's bag at the gym. Was he a doctor? No. Did he have connections? Of course. And he would go to the locker room and he would fill everybody's order from 2 weeks before.
it was
Right?
so out.
It
It
was
was
that-
so out in the open.
It
back
was
then.
that easy back in the 70s.
Think about it. It's the same thing with recreation drugs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think to yourself, well, where am I going to get it? All you have to do is just start, like, spreading a little word that you want this or want that, and,
Yeah.
and before you know
I
it,
guess.
so and so is going to say, oh yeah, you know what, you can go see
There's
whatchamacallit
always
over there.
a doctor that's
Well, it's not
looking
even
to.
it's the black market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I mean,
Right, and then I heard a roast the other day on YouTube. It was one of those Hollywood roasts. And they had made a comment about how, an actor takes a role and he's 5'9", 150 pounds, and for the role, he's 5'9", 220 and ripped.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
ripped.
wow.
And nobody wonders, and they don't even think it. Everybody's conditioned to say, oh, look at so-and-so. Wow, he
Yeah.
looks so good.
He was training hard.
Yeah, he was
I
training
mean-
hard.
I
He
mean,
was
listen-
And
training
his
hard.
diet,
And then they
yeah.
then they have the gall to do interviews. Oh, tell us, Mark, how you did it. Oh, just a lot of training and
Yeah,
my
great coach.
great coach, and I have a personal chef. And
Right, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. There's, especially on social media, one of the athletes. I mean, I love the guy, The Rock. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, the guy
Come on,
trains.
he's obviously on
The guy trains like an animal. All right. He's a great person. Walking Tall is one of my favorite movies. The Rock did the remake. I
Oh, did he
love.
really?
I could watch that movie
He
300
was
times.
Buford Pusser.
Yeah. But on the different name. But I mean,
I can't imagine him being Buford
Yeah.
Pusser.
but let's face it. I mean, the guy looks. I mean, he looks amazing for his age. But let's face it. I mean, how long can you get away with taking that many drugs for that long? I mean, because no normal guy his age looks like that.
Right.
I mean, he's above and beyond. Low body fat, tremendous physique.
Well, I think pretty much Arnold, is pretty much completely over the hill and done.
Well, he's in
Oh,
his 70s.
absolutely.
He's in his
Absolutely.
70s, right? And I think Stallone is still messing around, but I used to follow Schwarzenegger and both Stallones, Frank and Sylvester, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And every morning, Frank made a video from the parking lot at Gold's Gym.
Oh, wow.
And then he would take shots and take videos of their workouts in the gym.
Okay.
And he mentioned one day that at the time, I think he was, I don't know, 60-something years old.
Hmm.
And he said, guys, he was doing abs. He goes, if you don't do at least 200 crunches in your bed before your feet hit the floor, when you're in your mid-60s and on, he says, you're dead. He goes, your abdomen is just going to undergo muscular atrophy, and it just, you may have had a 32-inch waist, now it's going to be a 42-inch waist. And he says, and you don't even have to have fat on your abdomen. It just expands.
Mike, you want to comment on that?
Well, talking about bodybuilders,
Mm.
in that era of Schwarzenegger, I would pick Frank Zane.
Okay.
Because even if you see Frank Zane, I don't remember if he passed away or not.
No, he's alive.
Okay, so if you look at Frank Zane today,
Mhm.
he's looks awesome. He looks outstanding. I remember seeing a picture of him when he was competing with Arnold and everybody
Sure,
at that
sure.
era, right? And you see him now. The guy looks remarkable.
Fantastic.
Okay, so did he do steroids? Did he
100%
do
he did.
less
He
than
had to.
everybody
He had to,
else?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think again, keep things simple. You know, if you're gonna get, it's good to want, but at what expense?
Mm.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
so if you're a young kid and you want to become something, you got to realize that you're going down a path that can either take your life or make you great. Okay? And at what expense are you going to do this? And then how many other people are going for that same position?
Right,
And
but you do agree that when we were kids, I mean kids, right? But I can remember maybe like once a year, once every 2 or 3 years, Wide World of Sports would show like 3 minutes of Mr. Olympia,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, you're used to watching the Giants, the Yankees, the Mets. There was no hockey in the area back then, and all of a sudden you see these monsters on stage that and the lights and you just get flabbergasted, and you go, Dad, look at these guys, and it kind of goes like this, and then you don't see it again for another 2 or 3 years, and if you do, it's like the shot put in the Olympics. And there's Gerd so and so from the Brussels, and one throw, and it's back to the marathon every lap. You never. I couldn't figure out why don't they put this on TV? Maybe the producers knew that it was basically it was the great combination of genetics, hard work, and steroids that got them on stage. Right?
I don't know. I mean, you think about that too, that, hockey still is not like a big publicized sport.
Well, no, in a relative sense, it's
right.
not.
I mean, and the money's not as big as baseball, basketball, or football. So I think it's what really calls the attention of people, that what they want, right? So, I mean, you can almost, I don't know, is soccer?
Well, the American public got shortchanged because no high school kids watching Wide World of Sports ever saw anyone throw the discus.
Or the shot
right?
put,
Or
the
the
hammer.
shot put. Or the hammer.
I love those
Hammer's
throws.
amazing. It's just crazy. But,
John, Mike, what a great episode. John,
this could go on and on and on.
Yeah. If you had to alchemize, John, would you? Could you?
Well, okay, let's think of it from this standpoint. The human heart has desire. And when you attach yourself to desire, you become leveraged. And in the words of Gautama Buddha, if you want to be truly at peace, detach yourself from all desires, which almost seems like an oxymoron. It seems ass backwards. You're here in the third dimension, and you start feeling the body that you're in as soon as you slide out of the womb. And immediately you have desires. You have desires probably to leave this place, to go back where you were, where it's nice and warm and you don't have any crazy noises or bright lights, or the room is freezing cold, or some nurse is scraping your skin with a rough OR towel. That's why babies cry, oh God, I'm back here again. And we said that before. The human heart desires to be accepted, to be loved, to succeed. And when you attach yourself to that desire, you automatically leverage yourself. It's like the kid who's got this just unquenchable desire to be the prime minister or the president. And if he doesn't curb his enthusiasm or her enthusiasm, the only way they're going to get from point A to point B to where they think they want to go is to all of a sudden start knocking over those dominoes of desire, which means you've leveraged yourself. Now you're gonna do something that you would not normally have done to make it through that next portal, that next gate, right? I hate to bring it up, but you know what? We're talking about desires and about working out and being a professional athlete, and I want to be the next, Mark McGuire. I want to be the next, Hank Aaron. I want to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, whoever it is. And you start realizing that you've got to jump hurdles and you've got to do things that if your father or mother found out that you were doing steroids, they would go wild, right? It's kind of like the politicians and the celebrities that end up on the Lolita Express. Here they go. with Jeffrey Epstein because they got to do that, and everybody compromises themselves. I don't think if you took, you know, a 7-year-old kid and said, hey, what do you think you want to be? What do you think you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be, maybe he's a Mets fan or whatever, whoever the starting pitcher is for the Mets. Oh, I want to be like so. Do you ask who is that? Who is that? All right. Okay, fine.
About hockey.
Okay, all right, I know. But the point is that kid's innocent, and all he knows is what he thinks that he wants to emulate. And if you said to him, hey, there's this medicine that could get you real close, closer than you would be if you didn't take this medicine, and it might take you, you know, having somebody give you a needle in your rear end, and sometimes the medicine can be really dangerous. Would you do it? It might even kill you. The 7-year-old might go, what? No way. No way. Why can't I just go to practice and learn how to play baseball, and I can throw real hard? Well, yeah, that's the right response. But then we get older and we realize that the carrot's being dangled. And that this is basically, when you peel the layers of the onion, this episode was about the carrot being dangled in front of people who have desire. And it's understandable. That's the great hook of life. It's the carrot for the jackass in life. I can't really, you know, how do I blame young men for taking steroids? Because they're so close to a Division I scholarship in whatever sport. Or now they're on that team in Division I. Everybody else on the team is taking that little blue pill and doing the boing like this. And so they're going to go, no, not me. No, not me. I'm going to play for the Dallas Cowboys without that stuff. It's implausible. It's implausible. So I feel bad for them. How many young girls out there that look at themselves and have body dysmorphia because of what the society and the media has put in their heads, that you got to look like Pamela Anderson? And what if somebody said, hey, so-and-so, here, we got some of this from overseas. Take this for 3 months and you'll have a body just like Pamela Anderson. Silence, an appropriate moment of silence, a pause for effect. How many young girls would go after and find themselves that medicine that gave them that kind of body? And I think more young girls would be taking that stuff than more young guys are taking steroids. So it's all a matter of people find themselves in the skin that they're just not comfortable with. And I think that part of the ascension of humanity, I don't want to sound corny, is to realize we are what we are. We're children of the Creator, and you know, if your parents are apple trees, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If your dad is 5'4" and your mother's 4'9", put something else in your head other than playing the line for the Dallas Cowboys, because it's just not going to happen. And for the guys that are that big and are that close, I can understand, but you know, desire can lead you to compromise yourself, and it'll lead you, unfortunately, more people are led to death and destruction than the people who actually make it to the top. And what's the average lifespan? I don't mean to stay alive and breathing, but the average lifespan of an NFL football, is it 2.5 or 3 years?
It's short time,
Three
years maybe. Yeah.
Right. And then you get some of these people who've been playing the line for like 19
years,
years, and you're
yeah.
like, you don't know who they are, but
Yeah.
they're there all the time, and
Yeah.
it's like, what? Or look at one of the New Jersey Devils defensemen, number 3. 21 years?
Danico
21 years
time,
without, I
yeah.
think, a serious injury, and I always saw him almost crack his head at the Bridgewater Arena. But anyway, I just hope and pray that society comes around so that people don't have to desire to be somewhere that requires compromising themselves and compromising their truth and taking potentially dangerous drugs. That's really all I wanted to say about that.
That's
Anything
all.
else?
I think
That was
that's,
it. Great job as
that's
usual. Michael, John,
Thank you.
fantastic episode. Everybody, thank you for joining us on the Jersey Alchemist. If you like what we're doing, press like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Peace.